and the moderator of today's session. Project Blue Ribbon is a youth led organization that aims to raise awareness on child maltreatment. We are a team of 25 plus members who all range between the age group of 18 to 22 years. This project aims to support child rights and raise awareness against child abuse and aim to construct a society where children can enjoy their childhood without any kind of abuse, be it in the name of faith, religion, or culture. We all have assembled here to know more about the mental health issues that a child faces and how can we help them with it. Today, it's our privilege to have Dr. Nishta Gupta ma'am with us. She's an MBBS and MD psychiatry and also a mental health coach. She believes that mental health issues should be talked about openly and with pride. Mental health is pivotal for a life of quality and immense happiness, things that every single human strives for and deserves. She is passionate about creating awareness and destigmatizing concerns related to mental health. She is putting efforts in public awareness of the same with the motto, "It's okay to not be okay." Thank you, ma'am, for being with us. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Would you like to say a few words?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me and thank you for such a warm welcome. So it's my privilege to be here. It's a very noble cause that you people have taken up, and you work a lot in this direction. And I would say that I'm privileged to be a part of it, to be a little part of it, and given my little contribution that I can. Thank you.
It means a lot, ma'am. Uh, Ma'am, there are a few questions that we would love to hear answers from you. So, may I?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so some children they hesitate when they're asked to meet a psychologist. So, what can parents or you as a therapist do to make them feel comfortable?
See, so this is not just for children. At every age group, we do feel a little, stigmatized when it comes to mental health. That should we be going to a psychiatrist or a therapist? So I think the beginning of this destigmatization should start at with our own selves. So in our own houses, we should talk openly about it with people of every age group. So once the children in the household start growing up with the ease of talking about their mental health issues, I think it'll create a more comfortable space for them to reach their parents. And also a lot of times this happens that children, even if they do reach up to their parents, sometimes it happens that it is not taken in a very positive stride. Like, boys are brought up in a way that if you're injured, you're a boy, so don't cry, be tough. So those little things as parents we should not be putting into the child's mind, because we might be saying it in a very positive way, but that gets embedded in the subconscious, and that boy turns up to be a man who cannot seek help for depression, which is very common these days. So to destigmatize that, I think the beginning should be at the household. As parents, as elder siblings, we should talk openly about it. And once children do reach us and tell us that we are not feeling okay, because in children the symptoms are very vague, can be as little as irritability as well. So we should pay attention to those things and support them in this.
Okay, ma'am. What could be remedies according to you for negative thoughts, imbalanced emotions that emotions to parents which a child may suffer through?
See, so negative thoughts are something that all of us have. It's very inevitable to always be positive. It's never sunshine. Even after a day, there's night. So the first step is to know that it's okay to have negative thoughts. The second step is to direct those negative thoughts in a certain way. Now, this can be because children are up to the age of 18 years. After that, it's an adult. So very young children, their negative thoughts come out as since they're not in connection with their mind and emotion, their negative thoughts come out as physical irritability. But as the child grows older, and especially after puberty, there is a little connection that we start having to our emotions. So at that time, verbalization can be done. A very basic technique that every adult should know is that whatever emotion that we feel is driven by a thought. So as soon as we come in touch with our emotion, we should think of why we are having this thought, and that is what drives our behavior towards the emotion. Now I'll just give you a very tiny example of a household. That's the thought emotion behavior triangle that we all should follow. So suppose there's a little argument between a child and a parent. So if the child snaps back, the parent's initial response, like the child is rude to the parent's initial response could be, get irritable at the child. How dare you speak to your parent like that? While the parents can reflect in a way that the child is irritable. So that was the action by the child. What could have been a thought? Because children are not brought up to be irritable as such. They are of a jolly nature and they get irritable only when they're upset. So that could be a thought that the parents could have. And that is where the understanding of the emotion should come. Also, to manage these negative emotions and negative actions that follow these emotions, parents should spend a little time with children, and that time should be technology free, TV free. uh, it can even be like 30 minutes of complete silence. Sometimes not everybody is in a mood to talk or chit chat. So 30 minutes every night, 6 nights in a week, you can do activities, you can play games, you can do 30 minutes of reading. Builds very good habit in children, and builds patience in children, which is a must in today's date. Because if we don't have patience, sitting in a household in a pandemic, it's going to raise havoc in households. So these are little
So,
things that we
ma'am,
can do.
I would like to ask that in this situation of COVID-19 pandemic, people are already stressed and they're having work pressure and they're suffering financial crisis as well. So people, they don't have a technology free life. So will you still suggest something where, children, they're forced to sit in front of the laptops, parents, they're supposed to handle their work through laptops. So the life is not technology free. So still having that time, sitting together is barely possible in this situation of pandemic. Then what would you like to say?
See, there are 24 hours in a day. So everybody in the household should know that little times, like when you're eating food, you don't have to work while you're eating food. Even parents have a lunch break, and children have, even if it's school. So they have, brackets of technology free time. Like if it's lunchtime, and the family should have lunch together. Suppose, a lot of people have started working or work from home, they don't have lunch break at the same time. Dinner time, like one meal should be together. Because the core of relationship is by communication. And if you're not communicating, and children are not having physical exercise as such, so the whole communication, children used to go out, they used to do cycling, badminton, so many sports they used to have. Everything is just stopped, and they're put in front of their phones. Do you ever remember going to school for the sake of studying? I was never excited in the morning that I'm going to school, I'm going to study. I was excited to meet my friends. So of course they'll be irritable, they're not meeting their friends. And even parents, they'll be frustrated. There's a lot of financial pressure. 97% of people in India have gone down from their income, according to the recent stats. So it is a stressful time for everybody. But to dissipate stress, it's basically a negative emotion. To dissipate that, we need to create positive energy, and that does not require that much money. Playing carom at night, 15 minutes. If your sleep time is 11 o'clock, shut your devices at 10:30. 10:30, sit together, play ludo, play carom, you know uh, laugh before you sleep. And by laugh, I don't mean like you watch TV, watch something funny. If four people sit together, you're bound to crack jokes. If four people are playing together, you're bound to pull each other's leg. So that creates a more positive vibe before we sleep, despite the stress, because that is something out of our control. We cannot control the pandemic, we cannot control the financial burden that the households are, or people in the house are facing. And also, one really important thing for children is that parents, yes, they are undergoing a lot of stress, but parents have to know that for children, that phase in life is the most important phase right now. They may not realize the importance of financial burden, the children. So parents need to realize that for children, जितना स्ट्रेस उनको है, उनकी लाइफ का सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट फेज और सबसे बड़ा स्ट्रेस वो ही है. डिस्पाइट द फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस, they need to pay attention to their children's mental pressures as well.
Yes, ma'am, agreed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Teenagers of this age, they have been involved in relationships. So what, according to you, could be a piece of advice that you can give to them?
To the children or to the parents?
To the children.
See, so to children, the first and foremost advice is that being in a relationship, or once it's probably after 13 or 14 only that you step into relationships, it's not a crime. So everybody does that, and you need to be a little more open with your parents, with your elder siblings, because being in a relationship is not something wrong. If you've seen Dear Zindagi, Shah Rukh Khan says a line as a therapist that kursi pe baithoge nahi to pata kaise chalega which is the comfortable one for you. So you try multiple chairs and then you get to know, and nobody steps at 13 years, nobody steps into a relationship thinking that this is going to be my life. Like, I'm going to be with this person or that person forever. You need to go through heartbreaks, you need to go through betrayal. So a lot of things you need to go through, and that's a part of growing up. Again, this should not be shushed at homes. The stricter the policies are at homes, the tougher it is for children to communicate with their parents and their siblings, elder brothers and sisters. So an open environment at home is extremely important. Why? Because being in a relationship is not something wrong, but knowing your boundaries at every age. Boundaries expand as we grow older. So after 18 or 19, even 20, you realize the difference between right and wrong. But 13 to 18 is a very tender age where you are forming. Your personality is not formed as of now. You do not know who you are. So to limit your boundaries, it sometimes becomes a little difficult. And in the past stats, the NCMR released a recent stats last week itself, and they said that 1 out of every 3 adolescent falls under the clinical diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder, and they attributed the maximum cause of this to be relationship discord. And see, stuck in homes, they were using their phones. I see so many people. Just yesterday there came a girl in my OPD. So she had come with a mother. The mother's point was just one thing: she is on her phone throughout the day, she's talking on the phone throughout the day. And you cannot tell children to not do that, not talk to their friends. That's exactly what I'm saying. You need to communicate, set barriers, and the easiest solution is use your phone for these many hours or these many hours and talk to me about it. Whom do you like? Who are your crushes? And it's not just mothers, even fathers should start communicating about these things. Tell them the healthy practices, the boundaries. Try and meet the people that they are dating. You get to know what your child likes or what your child dislikes, or if you need to guide them in a better direction. So for children, I would say go be in relationships. It is healthy for you, but build your individual self. Don't revolve your life around that relationship, and always know that anything that is pulling you away from your family is unhealthy for you, always in life. So even if it's a relationship and that boy or the girl is your world, if he or she is pulling you away from your family, pull yourself away from that relationship.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
How can parents keep their children calm and composed, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic?
The first and foremost is for parents by being calm and composed themselves. Only then can they keep their children calm and composed. It's not projecting your emotions that you had a bad day at work, so you take it out on your kid and the kid takes it out on his pet. It doesn't work that way. So again, keeping children calm, again, children fall in two age groups. The very younger ones are always going to be destructive and they are not calm. So the best way to handle them, especially 24 hours at home, is give them responsibility. Make them feel that they are responsible in the house's decisions, household chores, and give them destructive chores. It's like give them a mop, tell them that just mop around the house. Jitna फेंक के करना है, जितना पीट के करना है to the mop, go do it. Destruct the mop, don't break things, don't shout, don't fight with us. kill all your energy in that. Tell them to, make their beds, and while they're making their beds, tell them to, just thrash the bed sheet as much as they want to. Kills their energy, and that is the only amount of negative energy they have, because for them life is not multiple stresses, car burden, financial burden. The only thing is that I can't meet my friends. How much can that emotion be? So they take it out on those cores and involve them in your family discussions. Don't tell them ki, you're a child, you're not a part of this, you're a child, because they have faced a lot of stress at a very very early age, and children are very resilient. We do not realize that, but they are very resilient, very smart. They catch up emotions. So for very young children, do this: direct their energies, give them the destructive cores at home, let them expel their energy in that, and dance with them. It's a very therapeutic and great exercise. It'll just physically expel their energy. For children who are a little more adult, adolescent people, puberty in itself is a very irritable stage. All of us know, we have been through that stage. There are a lot of hormones raging in your body. You do not know. When girls hit menarche, it's a huge stress in life. Something has changed for life. And even for men, their bodies are changing. They're attracted to each other. They're finding their sexuality. There are so many things that are going on, especially these days. So parents need to talk to children. The only thing that can keep them calm and composed is knowing where their child is right now mentally. And for children, they need to confide in their parents. There has to be open discussion. And discussions, by discussions I mean about substance use, about sexuality, about growing up, about what the image of their own body is, about their insecurities, about their fears, everything negative. Talk to your parents, because sometimes we as a younger generation have a responsibility to reach out to our parents, because our parents are of an elder generation. Maybe they have been brought up in an environment jahan ye sab baatein were not talked about openly, but they want to talk to, don't know how to approach. So you go approach and see how they react, and I'm pretty sure every parent in today's date is going to be thankful that their child came up to them to talk about these things, because remember, they have been through puberty and adolescence as well. And even though the resources were less, the problems were the same. So talk to them, talk to each other, build relationships. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an enlightening session. It was a pleasure having you with us. But is there any token message that you from your side would love to give to all the audience and the participants?
So the token message would be just one thing: that please, everybody of every age group, take care of your mental health. It's a very extremely tough phase for everyone right now. Every day is a new challenge. People who are going to work are scared to go to work. They might catch infections. People have lost a lot of people at very young age. They are under a lot of stress. So please take care of your mental and physical health. And there are a lot of resources. Reach out, build relationships. If you're stuck at home, take it in a very positive stride, because the relationships that you're building right now at home, they're going to last for a lifetime. So take that as a blessing, and yeah, take care of your mental health again.
Also, I would like to mention here that Project Blue Ribbon is collaborating with Milap for our first ever fundraiser. And the main aim of this fundraiser is to help children get to fulfill their basic needs, such as food, clothes, books, toys, pads, and many more, and educate them on sex education. So kindly donate and help us start our initiative. I am attaching the link in the chat box also. And also, I would like to request everyone to just switch on their cameras so that we can capture this memory of the webinar for Project Blue Ribbon.
Sorry to interrupt. There are some questions in chat box. We would be glad if ma'am could take some.
Uh, After this, photo taking, I would request Nishtha ma'am that there are some questions from the audience as well. So if you address some of them.
Yeah, sure. We'll after the photo we'll address them.
Vaibhav, once we are done with the picture, just let me know.
We are done.
Okay. Uh, there are some questions like if you can suggest some activities, like someone has messaged that I have a single 10-year child and I cannot play all day with him. Uh, not There's no
No
option.
option.
So if you can suggest some activities.
Yeah, so Dr. Loveleen, one thing that I would like to suggest is that allow children to, do a little outdoor activities. The more they are in touch with the nature environment openness, they'll be okay. I know you'd be scared, tell them to put on a mask, a little round cycling or everything. And if you have elders at home, put them to play with children, grandparents and grandchildren. A 10-year-old child will be a very competitive and good at play, like ludo, board games, carom. So you can do that also along. You can be in touch with other parents at school and put on some play school times, like some online activity that you can create. Like you can create a mom's group or a parents group, and over there you can do some activities for children. And one more thing that you can do is give him tasks. Like if he's into dancing or if he's into some music or something, give him a task that is, that lasts for about an hour or so that you can put him in the room. You can tell him to do that task, and then you can go about doing your own course and come back to the room, and after 1 hour he'd have done something constructive with that energy. So find whatever he or she likes, put them to do that for an hour or so, and you'll have that hour to yourself. So you can try and do that.
Okay. There's a question like, what about the boredom teenagers feeling due to consistent stay at home during pandemic? My teenage girls are insisting us to go to some hill station as they're fed up. I try to spend a lot of quality time with them and convince them that this phase will be over soon. But after some days, their frustration is out in one way or the another.
So I wish I could go to a hill station right now, but there are a lot of options available these days. Yoga classes online, dance classes online. So make them join some activity, evening 1 hour, 1.5 hour, join some activity and join it with them. So you become a part of it. They won't be able to blame you. Like, see, we are not able to do anything and you are still busy in your course and everything. So make them join some classes, something constructive. Again, anything that, physically expels energy will mentally calm you down. The frustration that is built up has to come out in one way or the other. And sadly, mothers are the easiest source, because you can just take it out on your mothers and the mothers will always be like, "Theek hai, mera bacha hai, it's okay." So put them to some put them in some classes or something. And I don't think it's just going to be for another month or so, and after that places are going to start opening. So they can have little friend groups or something, little outings. They can have like four, five people.
Okay. Ma'am, in today's competitive world, students as well as parents, they tend to compare their marks with others and also push their children to work even harder, which creates a lot of pressure and the result goes south. They tend to take you wrong steps. What can you suggest in this matter?
It's a very good question. It's by Mr. Gaurav. So this is something that, once we are in school, not everybody stands first in class. This is something parents need to know. They are pushing their children to the limit to study. Like, har cheez mein you have to, excel. You have to be good in every subject. And when they were in school, they were not constantly attending classes with children, but now they know the syllabus. They are free, they are relatively free, parents are free, so they are keeping an eye on the child's studies, child's syllabus and everything. But they are forgetting one very little thing, that not everybody is good at everything. So that is why, some people are interested in math, some people are interested in science, and some are interested in sports. Poor children who are, who have future in sports, who are absolutely great in sports, are stuck at home and they're not performing very well in science or maths. So don't push them. Recognize where your child's abilities are. You know, recognize that, acknowledge that. The more you acknowledge your child and the less, you disregard his or her talents, the better it will be for the child's growth. Because academic decline is not just something that you see. Even children see that, they compare their results to each other, and that is one of the leading causes of children being shy, not being able to talk in social settings. And this is going to be an upcoming problem for those children, because they are in a very safe environment right now. At home, just 4 or 5 people, all of the people who love them. There is no social anxiety right now for those children. But those children who are not performing very well in studies right now, but that your child is good in sports, your child is a good cricketer, or your girl is a good painter, but she's not able to learn or do that. So once they go out, they would only know that we have not scored well. They wouldn't know that I play very well or I'm excelling in this field. They would only know that I have not studied well, I have not scored well. There is a class of 40 people, I stood 30th in my class, and they'll be extremely anxious and shy. So you need to support your children. Of course, be a part of their studies, but don't expect every child to stand first in class.
Okay, ma'am. There's another question, like many parents have formal relationship with their children. So what can these children do to approach their parents with their mental health issues?
See, so if there are two issues, the first is parents don't believe in mental health. The second is that the relationship is formal. In the first case, you can show them, material. A very, very friendly material is available these days online, which is not like, not quoted in books. There are a lot of good videos coming up. So many informative things which are very basic, because there are a lot of myths associated with mental health. So in the first case, do that. In the second case, don't give up. At the end of the day, know that your parent, there is nobody in the world who would want you to be, in a better place or in a more healthier, safe space than your parent. Even if your parent is 80 years old and you're 40 years old, your parent would still want the best for you. So try and approach again and again. And again, if I want to tell you to, do something, there are two ways. There are two tones that I can use. The first is a blaming tone, that you never listen to me and I'm still telling you that I don't feel well. The first line that you use, that you never listen to me, is going to, click their brains off, that I'm not going to listen to my child, is throwing a tantrum. Try approaching in a more polite way, in better words. And again, if you are unable to do that, there are a lot of places available online. They'll help you deal with this situation as well, on how to approach your parents. Because for children to seek mental health support, they need to have parents' consent at till the age of 18 years. Parents or an elder siblings consent, anybody above the age of 18. So approach them. A lot of people online, there are online therapies and portals like you would support. You have a lot of people at your back end who would talk to those children and help them sort these issues out, because these are very dynamic issues, different for every household, so they can be solved. Yeah.
There's a similar question by Tanya Kukshal. How to deal with conservative parents during this phase of lockdown, staying at home 24 hours?
uh See, conservative parents, it's again generation gap, how they have been brought up. Educate them just as you're being educated. If suppose your parents are conservative and you are not conservative, what do you attribute this expansion to? Your parents have put you up in a school which had which provided you with this vision. You were not born in that vision. You were born in the same household with conservative parents. You were bound to be conservative, but your exposure expanded your horizons. So if your parents provided you with the opportunity to, expand yourself and be open to the world, give them the same opportunity. Maybe they were not provided with that opportunity. Always give the other person a benefit of doubt, that this thinking could be coming from a place which is understandable. So if you expect your parents to understand you, try and understand them a little bit, and do not under any circumstances expect that you and your parents are going to be the same people at any point in life. Learn to live with the differences and respect the differences as well, for both parents and children.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we deal with an introvert child? They don't want to open up easily.
uh, Again, it's a very good question. See, so an introvert child could be a problematic child. A lot of people, children by the age of 4 or 5 years have this complaint that the child is speaking at home but not speaking publicly, or that the child is not speaking at all. This might not just be an introvert child. This might be an autistic child, or this might be a child with, special learning disability. So please, if your child is too shy, the child might be suffering from childhood anxiety or some kind of SLD. All of that is treatable. Get them checked as soon as possible. Even before the age of 3 years, before the age of 2 years, if autism is diagnosed, it's the best age. And after that, if SLD is diagnosed, you must have seen Tare Zameen Par and a lot of movies which reflect this, that those children can be helped. So a shy child is something else, but a quiet. How old is the child that you said?
10 years old.
See, so 10 years is not an age where the child should be that, insecure about separation from mother. So basically, this is separation anxiety, as we address, that is usually seen in children, very, children who cannot communicate. When their mother leaves, they cling to the mother. This insecurity could be coming from a very anxious place. Try and talk to the child. Teach him what emotions are, and ask him, why does he fear, what does he fear? Because 10 years is a good enough adult age for a child. It's an older child age. So ask the child, what is he afraid of, why, what is he scared of. The child will communicate, even if in the simplest language, that I'm afraid of losing my mom, or I feel scared, or I feel alone. So address that, because again, could be suffering from childhood anxiety, because this kind of attachment is not a secure attachment. This is separation anxiety that the child is facing. So the child will provide you with the best answer. And if you're unable to communicate, again, take them to a mental health professional or your pediatrician, and they will try and converse with the child in the best ways possible. Also, in a 10-year-old child, we have to rule out the possibility of bullying. So yeah.
Next is, this is Prateek from Kolkata. Just a small suggestion required. Being a student pursuing higher studies in commerce, I have been sitting at home since the lockdown we faced during the first wave. My exams were due on to November 2019, and it's already June 2021. And now that only 1 month is left as my exam dates are out, uh, and they are on first week of July. I've been facing a lot of anxiety issues, and there is a want of getting out from, but I also need to prepare for my exams. So I would like to ask, what can I just do when I'm free at home to make myself motivated and think positively before appearing for my exams?
Right. So, Prateek, one thing that you can do is, since you're saying the exam is just a month away, try making short-term goals. Because, without anxiety, you must have noticed, like the night previous to the exam, we study the maths, we have the maximum retention. We study one chapter in 1 week prior to the exam, and the night prior to the exam, we can study and finish off 22 chapters and remember all of them. So build optimum levels of anxiety, and by that I mean give yourself constant stimulus. That will be a constant reminder of how much you are left with. So with the long-term goal being clearing your exam, set short-term goals. Like, what am I going to do in these 3 days? What topics am I going to cover in these 3 days? So every morning you wake up, nothing can make you more motivated than seeing yourself succeed in the future. That is an affirmation you take up every morning, that I am going to be my best self. And when you wake up in the morning, wake up with that energy. Tell yourself that I am going to be my best self today. And once you have really short term goals now, you will, once you know that this is the amount of study that I have to do today, and that's about it, you will be able to achieve it. Once you create a little long term goals, like in this week I'll finish off this subject, all of it gets bound collected, and you do it by the end of the week. Procrastination, we are all pro at it. So don't give yourself an opportunity to procrastinate and build it up all for the end of the week. Give yourself very short term goals, 2 days, 3 days. Make a plan according to that, and make a plan every week, not for the entire month, and you'll be able to ace the exam. And all the best for your exam.
All the audience questions have been covered up. So conclusively, if you would like to say something to the audience after hearing their questions.
Uh, See, so even in the questions, I feel the main issue has been, you know, coping up with the anxiety and the negative emotions related to that. Try, everybody of every age group together, try and do a little relaxing exercises. I'm not saying that everybody go do yoga. Whoever is comfortable, do that, but do some form of physical exercise. Do a little deep breathing every day, just 10 deep breaths every day. Calm yourself down. Hold yourself up every morning, wake up and tell yourself, thank yourself for holding up and being so strong till date. A lot of people are demotivated that I have not been able to do anything in the past 2 years, none that I'm not able to achieve anything. But just, you know, thank your body, thank your mind for being there with you, for supporting you. That I'm thankful for myself, and I'm thankful to myself for coming so far, and I'm going to go further ahead today. So thank yourself, be grateful for yourself, take care of yourself, and everybody in your family as well.
Ma'am, there's a last one more question, that do you
Yeah,
think it's really important for mental health classes in schools and colleges?
absolutely. At every age group their issues should be addressed. It is, I think we have crossed that point where it was even a question if it is essential or not. We are already late in starting these classes in schools and colleges. At every age group, children from the age of 4, 5, 6 years should know the difference between right and wrong touch. They should know the difference between frustration, anger, sadness, and emotions that I was talking about, that teacher children emotions. People before puberty should know what are the changes and problems they're going to face. So after 18, everybody has access to mental health professionals, but it is before the age of 18 that they face problem. It is 100% absolutely essential for children to be taught this.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for such an enlightening session. It was a pleasure having you with us, answering all the questions,
Thank you.
being so subtle and composed. So it was a great
Thank you.
webinar with you.
Thank
It
you.
the participants that I've mentioned a Google form. You all have to mention your email IDs, because the e-certificates will be provided within a day or two, only through your mails. So all the participants should mention their mails and fill the Google form. Thank you.
Thank you.